Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. Well, I got a pretty good crowd of you here today. Popped open go to webinar, and all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. Well, welcome. Good to see you guys on here. I notice when I'm more consistent, you guys are more consistent with getting on here. So I will definitely try to make sure that we have some solid consistency. Again, I'm usually not on the mindset only for reasons of doing contracting or potentially traveling. So today is going to be a good lesson. I've been thinking about this quite a bit. We kind of got into a few things about sales this week, and I think there's always a valuation there, and it's important to kind of look at things. We've been talking about personal development. We've been talking about staying the course, really developing your mindset to be able to do well with sales. So today I want to talk more about numbers, metrics. Okay. So if you're new to the mindset, get a pen, get a notebook, get prepared to get some good information from us here. And for those of you that are actually in my sales team, these mindsets are available in the back office, as well as on our YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is kind of nice because I've got some mindsets from 2015, 2016 on there. There's actually over 100 mindset videos on YouTube if you guys ever want to just go ahead and binge watch some of the stuff that we've done. I think there may be some value there. So Friday, remember what I always say about Friday. Okay, if you want to get as much out of Friday as you do out of the rest of the week, you got to work twice as hard because everybody else is working half as hard if you want the same results. And it's important because if you're working 5 days a week, 20% of your week is Friday. Okay, 20% is a lot. Okay, and I talk about percentages sometimes just to kind of give you the valuation on that over time, especially, right? Would you settle for 80% of something on a consistent basis when you could have 100% of it, right? 20% could be a lot, but what's 20% of 100,000? It's 20 grand, right? So always try to be the other person. Always try to be the one that really makes Friday solid, okay? Now I've got a really packed day myself. Okay, I'm going to do my best to make that happen today. But today, I want to talk about what you're doing in sales. What are you actually trying to close? Now, I don't use our sales program that we have with Betoparedes Family Companies that often in the mindsets because I do have a somewhat of a mixed audience. Some of you here actually work with me. Some of you here are here because you signed up for the mindset and have been coming on for quite some time. But this is a very important thing that we do at our company in order to help facilitate successful sales with the reps that do join and do stick it out with us. And this is an important valuation, something that I've learned over the course of many years. And to kind of give you a little bit of background on that, when I first got into software development in 2002, we had quite a number of large projects that we did, and we hit a certain point where we had so many large projects in, and I had a smaller team. There's about 5 developers at that time. That I was finding myself with nothing to do. I'm the CEO. I'm out front doing marketing. I had people interested in buying from us, but we were having a hard time putting that valuation together because my guys were busy. I was telling some of the people that were potentially going to come in for a software job that, hey, I can't really even get started for 3 months. And I was losing business because we didn't have the capacity. Well, I went to my chief engineer, Joe Frazier, who's still a really good friend of mine and the CEO of my company, Apogee Invent now. And I was like, man, we gotta have something else we can sell. I'm like, I gotta have something to do while you guys are real busy on these larger projects. And so we started developing small business marketing systems. And one of the first ones we did was in the automotive space. And currently, I have a company that we founded called Auto Search Technologies. It has 1,700 auto dealers as clients. And that business model was born from me not having enough to do because I was selling these large systems and complex models. I mean, some of the software we developed, I mean, we'd work on that for 6 months to 2 years. And so I started looking for things I could sell that were quick, right? Build a marketing system, launch it. I mean, we had our Auto Search Technologies marketing systems to where I could literally launch one, do all the design work myself, do all the client services myself, and get it live within 2 weeks. And so that was very advantageous to us. But that also gave us a foundation in a number of different ways. First of all, because I was able to get back out and market and talk about selling and buying, I was getting a lot more referrals. And so instead of the head hunting that I would have to do for quite a bit of the model that I had regular businesses actually referring large scale software platforms because everybody's networked somehow. Okay, a lot of your small business people, they have a brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousin that works at a large corporation somewhere, or maybe even operates an actual large company. And we literally built our entire business model off of that referral base, ended up with over 30 employees and making millions of dollars a year. And we did that because we had large scale projects going, but we were always selling the small marketing systems. So we've backed into that philosophy at the Beto Paredes Family of Companies sales program. And so I want to explain to you from a salesperson's point of view how you really need to look at things. What kind of a lens do you need to be operating from? And you got to look at things from the numbers point of view. Okay, if you're here to make money and you're wanting to be a professional salesperson, especially if you are independent, 1099, whatever it may be, kind of cutting your own path through the jungle, you got to kind of look at things a little bit differently. So if you're going to sell, go big, but carry a bag of tricks. So I want to tell you guys a story. Some of you that have been on an onboarding call with me or a game plan call with me, you've actually heard this story, but this is an important one. So I was the general manager at a coffee corporation. We were a very successful coffee corporation, and I loved my job, but I also wanted to be a business owner. Okay, this is in my 20s. And I'd walked into the office of the owner, who didn't even show up that often because I ran the whole company. And I said, listen, I will stick it out with you here if you give me 10% of your company. Well, he didn't do that. And so I gave him a 2-month notice, and I worked on planning my way out of the company because I'd already started developing software in human resource management and payroll. And back at that time, that was a very lucrative business model to be in. Well, I needed to understand, just one moment here, I have someone trying to call me. We'll call him back. So sorry about that. I usually have my phone turned off, everybody. Let me do that real quick. And I'll call this person back when we are done. Okay. So back to what I was saying. So basically what it came down to is I needed a little bit more business management theory, right? I needed to understand how to operate a business. You know, I was a general manager of a coffee corporation. I ran the whole thing, but I really needed a little bit more teeth. I'm going to go out there and be a business owner. So there was a gentleman that would come in on a consistent basis and buy coffee. And I got to know him real well. He's a good friend of mine. And he was the top real estate agent in the entire area. I was currently living in Kaiser Salem area in Oregon. And so he was number one, had been number one since I actually ran that coffee corporation. And so knowing that he was the top guy, I asked him if I could come spend some time at his office. I say, listen, you know, I'm about to be done with my 2 months, and I want to come hang out with you and just talk about business, and I'll work for you. Okay, I'll work for you for free. Okay, whatever you need done. You need flyers done, whatever you want me to do. So I went and I sat in his real estate office, and I was there for about 3 weeks. And this gentleman would show up every day and make about 4 phone calls. And then he would he'd show up probably about 10. And then about 11:30, he would start getting on the phones, bugging all of his buddies to get out on the golf course. And by 12:30, he was out on the golf course, and he'd come back after having like 8 or 9 drinks. And he'd close up the office, and I'd be there, you know, doing all these different things for him, just trying to figure out what I can do to help him. Well, I didn't learn anything from this guy other than just kind of sitting there in awe that he's the top realtor in the entire area, and he comes in and works for about an hour and a half, and then he leaves. So I decided that I was going to let him know that, you know, thanks for your time, thanks for letting me be here. You know, of course, I told him I learned a lot. I really didn't learn much, and he's like, "Let me take you out to dinner." I'm like, "Okay." So it's the end of this 3-week period, and we go out to have dinner. And he goes, "You want to know what my secret is?" And man, I was like, "Yes, I most certainly want to know what your secret is, because what I'm seeing you do on a daily basis just does not equal out to something that makes sense to me right now." And he said, this is what my secret is. He's like, when I got into real estate, I went and found the largest house I could find. And the biggest one in the neighborhood, we're talking the most expensive one in this area. And he said, I didn't do anything but sell that house until it sold. And it took me months. And I did tons of presentations. Well, what happened early on in my career is even on that first house, everyone started hearing about me. Okay. I'm the guy that sells the big expensive houses. And I got that house sold. And then I went through that same process again. I went and found the next biggest house I could find, most expensive house, and I focused on selling that house. And over a small period of time, I got known for being the guy that sells the big expensive houses and then understands that sales model. And I've stayed there. He's like, that was 15 years ago. And I still to this day will only sell the most expensive real estate in town. He's like, that's why I'm number one. And that entire 3 weeks that I was there doing nothing, learning nothing, was all worth that 1 hour I sat down with him at the end of my time to hear him tell me that. And so I kind of took that diction forward. I was like, okay, well, in the software world, I'm only going to sell expensive, large scale projects, and I'm going to find the people that buy those. And that's exactly what we did. And so we were very successful very early, getting into projects that were into the six figures right out of the gates, where a lot of other developers, a lot of other software companies and website designers, they were out there just taking anything they could. You know, $800 projects for a website, $2,000 projects for a website. Well, I went big on purpose in the beginning, and we became a very successful software development company because I listened to that one piece of advice. And so I'm trying to bring this piece of advice to you guys. Okay, if you're out there, you're making sales, if you're really focused on trying to create a career, especially like I said, if you're 1099 and that's where you're focused, you've got to get the right mindset. So if you're going to sell, go big, but carry a bag of tricks. Okay, so kind of remember my story about selling small systems as we kept working. So I'm going to give you this whole thing. All right, a $50,000 commission gives you $4,166 a month over a 12-month period year. Okay, so if you close one deal that's worth 50K, and if you're working in our system, we have a couple of those, everybody. Okay, so if you sell one deal that's worth 50K, you've just basically put yourself into $4,166 a month over a 12-month year. So if you close 3 of these, you're making an average of $12,498 a year. Okay, joint venture projects, for example, in our company, are a starting commission of $50,000, and that's because our starting ask on joint ventures is $500,000. Okay, they can go up to $1 million. They can be more depending. We have another company in our system that's really similar to that, and that's Universal Tech Associates. Their stuff can come in a little bit lower than that at times, but it's usually about $500,000 plus. So it might take you a lot of phone calls, a tremendous amount of prospecting, a lot of getting out to events, a lot of failures, right? A lot of networking, all of this effort that you may have to put in to get these 3 sales to get you to $12,498. Now, if you're in our program, that's just the beginning, okay? We've got some joint ventures that have already closed in our company, and the individuals that have closed those are into residuals very shortly that may very well dwarf the amount of money that they made off that 50K by 10 times, okay? So you really want to look at the overall model of what you're selling and where the valuation is, but we're just looking at closing, okay? So you close something that's worth $50,000, well, to you as a commission, well, now you're into $12,498 a month, okay? That's 3 closes. Okay, to make that on a $1,000 commission sale, okay, so now let's look at something where you're getting paid $1,000. And any of you guys that are high ticket guys, that's really where your valuation comes in. I think most of your influencers and others are paying you anywhere from $200 to $1,000 on a close. So to make that on a $1,000 commission sale, you would have to close 150 in that same year. 150 sales. Okay, how many of you did that last year? Okay, I have a guy in our auto search department that is he's just a killer, and I don't think he's made 150 sales in a year. And so you would have to close 150 in that same year. So that's 12.5 sales a month. And there are very few people that can average that. Okay, and we're talking consulting based ticket sales, right? Things that may cost 5,000 or more, right? If you're selling product, things, and you're doing web marketing, that's a different diction. We're talking about actual professional sales, getting on the phone, having the conversation, sending the contract, getting it signed, getting paid. So when you're looking at this, it's almost daunting to imagine that you're going to get out there and do 150 closes to get the same amount of money you'd get for 3. Okay, and getting the 3 closes will probably take about twice as long on the sale as it will at $1,000 commission coming into you. And it's maybe about 20% more complex. So twice as long on the average on the sale, maybe about 20% more complex in the model. Okay. But the reality is you've got to put your mind on that model. If you're not selling something that's worth at least that much, you're going to be a hamster in a wheel. Okay. And again, like I was saying before, look for things that have residuals, because you may as well pop $20,000, $50,000 sales in the next 5 years and have residuals that retire you. You can do that as a salesperson. Okay. You can do that in our program, but ours isn't the only program that has it. Okay, if you're going through the valuation of potentially selling for a company, find out what kind of model is in place for you to be able to actually create a substantial amount of income now and actually have residuals that may even retire you. If you're not focused on that, then you're not focused on a true sales career. Okay, you don't have enough faith in yourself. Okay, that's just a fact. All right, so chase a primary and have 2 to 5 secondary product services to fill in the opportunity. So this gets back to what I was saying before. And I talked to almost all of you that have been on the game plan meeting with me about this philosophy. During the day, chase the big tickets, make the phone calls, but always have something else available to either sell to the people you're speaking with or to the referrals that they may have. Okay, one of the best combinations I can think of in our sales program, again, talking about the way we're set up, is the Influx IQ marketing systems. Okay, because that's a very wide audience. Okay, you go sell something that's a larger ticket, there may be several people working at that corporation that may have a brother, sister, aunt, uncle's cousin that could get into one of the smaller sales that you have. But you don't want to drive your attention on the smaller sales. You want to drive your attention on the larger sales, but always carry a bag of tricks. Okay, always have other things that you can offer either to the same company or to the people that are potentially networked, because you're getting to know people. Okay, you don't want to waste all of that energy. Okay, you get to know someone on one specific thing that you're doing. You want to have a number of things in the outlay that you can offer as an opportunity if it's there. Okay, because if you're closing, okay, at $50,000 and you close your 3, well, isn't it nice to maybe have another $5,000 off of the 5 marketing systems that you sold, because you kept that in measure as you were prospecting? Okay, why not have some extra money? Okay, so chase a primary and have 2 to 5 secondary products or services to fill in the opportunities. Yeah, it's important. Now, in our system, again, like I said, I don't talk about our system a lot on the mindsets, but our system's built for that. Okay, it's built for success in a sales platform, and you want to be looking for opportunities that are that way. So if you're in another program where you've got a $50,000 commission, or 30 to 50, is good, then be looking for things even outside of that you can fill in. Okay, because there's no reason to leave money on the table. Okay, so I'm hoping this really sinks in with you guys here on this Friday. Let's go through this again. So if you're going to sell, go big, but carry a bag of tricks. A 50K commission gives you $4,166 a month after over a 12-month year. Okay, so just one close, and most of you are at least going to be okay. Okay, I don't know exactly what your expenses are or what your lifestyle is, but $4,166 usually pays the rent, the car payment, the power, right? Puts food on your table. That's pretty good, right? It's way more than minimum wage, right? And so The reality is one close may put you in a comfort zone to a degree, although we talk about staying out of that, right? Then once you've got that on your measure and you're focused on that, you can move forward intelligently. All right. So if a 50K commission gives you $4,166 a month over a 12-month year, you close 3 and you're making an average of $12,498 a month. Now, the reason that number is important is because most sales guys that I talk to, or the ones that are setting goals, or ones that are getting started, there's always this $10,000 a month. What you trying to do? I'm trying to do $10,000 a month and $120,000 a year. Okay, if you're doing 10 grand a month and $120,000 a year, you are a successful salesperson. Okay, now if you're tying yourself into residuals that are going to spike beyond that, well, good for you. Okay, but you could close 3 sales a year, 3 sales a year that are worth 50K and live at $12,000 a month. Okay, that's good for almost anyone. That gives you money to save for your kids, for their college, put money in for retirement, you know, get into other benefits. Okay, so why wouldn't you focus your primary time on getting those 3 sales, even if it takes you 6 months? Okay, because there's just no way you're going to fill in that 6 months the 75 sales for the half a year that's going to be required at the $1,000 commission model. So you're just going to be a hamster in a wheel. You'll probably make enough money to survive. Okay, but you're going to feel like you're working too hard, it's too difficult. Okay, your margins are always so high that getting there is just a frustration on a continual basis. And so you're going to have an emotional response that's going to end up really kind of putting you in the wind on a consistent basis. Let's just say that one month you don't make your 12.5 sales, which will be most months. Okay, go after something that's large enough that you close one deal, you're in a good place. Okay, so chase a primary, which would be your 50K, whatever it might be, and have 2 to 5 secondary products and services to fill in the opportunities. Don't leave money on the table. All right, everybody, thank you so much. It's Friday. Let's work twice as hard. Let's get some fire in our cup. Let's end the week strong, and I will see you again here on Monday morning.